In the heart of a peaceful southeastern village of Nigeria, love is about to turn into a nightmare. Amuma, a mysterious wedding ring seller, promises couples eternal happiness, but her beautiful rings carry a dark secret: infertility. As three couples begin their journey of love, they find themselves bound by a curse that threatens to destroy everything they hold dear. But when a powerful priest arrives, he uncovers the village's haunting past and prepares for a battle with Amuma that will shake the very foundation of their world. Will faith be enough to break the curse, or will darkness reign forever? Prepare for a tale of love, betrayal, and a fierce spiritual showdown. The battle for the village's soul begins now. Will you dare to face the evil within? This is how it all started. Once upon a time, in the village of Umun, located between rolling hills and green forests, the air was filled with the sweet scent of celebration. The season of weddings had arrived, and the village was alive with preparations. Among the many joyful events, there was one that caught the attention of everyone. Amuma, a mysterious woman who had recently opened a small shop in the village square. She sold wedding rings, each one more beautiful and intricate than the last, sparkling with an almost otherworldly glow. Word spread quickly about Amuma's rings, and before long, she became the go-to seller for every couple preparing to wed. The villagers, eager to find the perfect symbol of their love, flocked to her shop. But there was something unsettling about Amuma. Her smile never seemed to reach her eyes, and there was always a strange, unspoken tension that surrounded her. Yet, none of the villagers questioned her, for the rings were too beautiful to resist, and they believed in her quiet, graceful demeanor. As couples purchased the rings, they felt a sense of destiny. These were the rings that would bind their hearts forever. Little did they know, the rings they wore were about to change their lives in ways they could never have imagined. The curse had already begun. Chinedu and Ada had known each other since childhood, their love a beautiful, slow-burning flame. They were perfect for each other, their hearts intertwined with shared dreams of family, success, and a future filled with joy. When the time came for them to marry, they were eager to begin their lives together, and Amuma's shop was the obvious choice. The rings she offered were unlike anything they had ever seen. Golden bands with intricate patterns, so detailed it seemed as though they held the secrets of the universe within them. Amuma's smile as she handed them the rings felt like a blessing, and they left her shop with hearts full of hope. The wedding was everything they had dreamed of. Friends and family gathered, music and laughter filled the air, and their vows were exchanged beneath the bright Igbo sky. It was a day that marked the beginning of a beautiful life together, one they thought would be full of love and children. But the first signs of trouble came a few months later. Ada, despite her deep desire to start a family, found that she could not conceive. At first, they brushed it off as mere coincidence, but as time went on, their frustration grew. Visits to doctors offered no answers, and their love, once vibrant, began to feel like a distant memory. Nkechi and Ifani's love story was one of passion, filled with grand gestures and promises of forever. They had always been the picture-perfect couple in Umun, admired by all. When they decided to marry, they, too, found their way to Amuma's shop. Amuma greeted them with a knowing smile, her eyes gleaming with an unsettling light as she presented the rings. "These rings," she whispered softly, "will bind you in ways you cannot even imagine." Despite the chill that ran down their spines, the couple accepted the rings, their desire for a perfect wedding clouding their judgment. Their wedding was a grand affair, the entire village in attendance. Their love seemed invincible, unshaken by any challenges life might throw their way. But when the honeymoon phase ended, the cracks began to show. Months passed, and Kechi's body, once full of life, remained stubbornly still. She could not bear children. Ifani, once full of hope, grew distant, frustrated, and angry. The couple tried everything: traditional remedies, prayers, even visits to healers, but nothing worked. Slowly, the bond that once held them so tightly began to unravel. They, too, had fallen victim to Amuma's curse, but they didn't know it yet. Ugochi and Emeka's love was built on a foundation of faith and trust. They were the ideal couple, often seen praying together at the village church, surrounded by well-wishers. They were a beacon of hope and joy, and their wedding was the talk of the town. When it was time to purchase their rings, Amuma's shop seemed like a godsend. The rings, elegant and alluring, shimmered with an almost ethereal glow. Amuma welcomed them warmly, giving them the rings with a quiet blessing. But the blessing would soon turn into a curse. The couple had always dreamed of starting a family, yet months turned into years and no children came. Emeka grew distant, becoming frustrated with Ugochi. Their once joyful home was now filled with silence. They, too, visited doctors, healers, and spiritual leaders, but the results were always the same. There was no reason for their infertility. Unbeknownst to them, they had joined the ranks of the cursed, the victims of Amuma's malevolent spell. It wasn't long before the villagers began to notice a troubling pattern. Couples who had bought rings from Amuma were struggling with the same issue, infertility. At first, it seemed like coincidence, but as more and more couples found themselves unable to bear children, the whispers began to grow louder. Chinedu and Ada, once the picture of happiness, became isolated, their frustration mounting as they sought answers. Ifani and Kechi, their marriage now on the brink of collapse, began to question their own choices. Ugochi and Emeka, quietly broken, began to wonder if something far more sinister was at play. The village elders, once dismissive of these concerns, could no longer ignore the growing unrest. One by one, the couples who had purchased their rings from Amuma began to band together, seeking the truth. But the path to uncovering the curse would not be easy. The villagers' belief in the power of Amuma's rings was so strong that few were willing to speak out. Yet, the couple's misery had united them in a shared determination to uncover the truth. As the couples continued to struggle, a revelation came from the unlikeliest of sources. An elderly woman named Nena, a spiritual elder in the village, approached the couples with a dire warning. She had seen the signs before, in a vision sent by the gods. "Amuma is no ordinary woman," Nena whispered, her voice shaking with fear. "She is a witch, and her rings are cursed. The childless marriages are no accident. They are the result of a powerful spell. The curse is tied to the blood of a woman who was wronged many years ago." The villagers were stunned, their disbelief palpable. They had all trusted Amuma. She had been so kind, so welcoming. How could she possibly be a witch? But Nena's words echoed in their minds. And so, they began to seek the truth, piecing together fragments of the village's dark history. What they uncovered shocked them all. Many years ago, a young woman falsely accused of witchcraft had been killed by the village in a fit of rage. Her death had awakened a powerful curse, and Amuma had been its vessel. The villagers, now desperate, sent word to a priest who had long been rumored to have the power to break dark spells. Father Obi, a revered man of God, arrived in Yuman with a heavy heart. He had heard of the village's troubles, and upon his arrival, he immediately sensed the presence of evil. He visited the homes of the affected couples, praying for them and seeking guidance from the divine. His heart broke as he heard their stories, and his prayers grew stronger. Father Obi understood that he was not just facing a curse, but an evil that had been festering for years. Amuma's power was deeply rooted in the village's past sins. He knew that to break the curse, he would need to confront Amuma directly. But the path would not be easy. Amuma's powers were formidable, and she would stop at nothing to protect her hold over the village. The day of reckoning arrived. Father Obi stood at the edge of the forest, where Amuma's power was strongest. The air crackled with tension as the priest prepared to face the witch in a battle that would determine the fate of the village. As he stepped into the forest, Amuma appeared, her eyes glowing with dark magic. "You cannot defeat me," she sneered, her voice dripping with venom. "I have the power of centuries, the power of revenge." But Father Obi was unshaken. "By the divine power of God, I cast you out," he declared, raising his hands in prayer. The clash between their powers was immediate. Dark forces and divine light collided in a storm of energy. Amuma's magic roared with fury, but Father Obi's faith remained unyielding. The battle intensified, with Amuma summoning dark forces that twisted and writhed around her. She attacked with everything she had: curses, shadows, and illusions. But Father Obi's prayers were powerful, his connection to God unwavering. Each prayer was a weapon, each chant a strike against the darkness. The village could feel the battle from afar, the ground trembling with each clash of power. As the battle reached its peak, Father Obi's voice rang out in a final, thunderous prayer. The divine power surged through him, breaking Amuma's magic and shattering the dark bonds that held her to the village. Amuma screamed in fury, but it was too late. Her powers were gone, and with a flash of light, she was banished forever. With Amuma's defeat, the curse was lifted. The couples who had once been barren now found hope. Chinedu and Ada, Nkechi and Ifani, Ugochi and Emeka, each couple experienced the miracle they had longed for. The village rejoiced, but the true healing was just beginning. The villagers gathered in the village square, where Father Obi led them in a prayer of repentance. They understood now the weight of their past actions, the consequences of their sins. But through the priest's intervention and their repentance, they were free. The battle had been won, but the scars remained. The villagers would never forget the price of their past, nor the power of redemption that had come through the divine intervention of Father Obi. Their lives had been forever changed, and the village of Yuman would never be the same.